I call the meeting to order. Did you all hear that?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I'd like you to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of
the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda as written.
Thanks, Leanna. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We do have one public comment that Darlene LaPierre dropped off that I'd like to read to you all. It came from who is a recent high school graduate and now a bowling engineer. I'll just read it to you. 100 years ago, it won't matter what kind of house I lived in, how much I had in my bank account, or what my clothes looked like. A little better because I was
Are you guys in the same room? Yeah, I can't hear Laura. It's breaking up a lot. Maybe is it because I can hear other people talk. On the move.
I can't hear what you guys are saying. No, I can hear you from I can't hear. Okay.
Some of you are very clear. Laura wasn't, but I think I haven't heard her yet again. Oh, I don't hear you at all. Do you have the mic on? If you tap your screen, there should be a mute button. No. Do you guys hear Laura?
No, her audio is attempting to connect. That's what's reading.
Okay. I'm pretty sure. I'm in
Just,
out here
just
with,
give it a
so. Okay. Just want to make sure. Hello, Miss Christensen. Thank you for coming.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Nobody can hear me. I'm gonna come in here. Okay, this is Laura. I'm joining Aaliyah in here because something went wrong with my connection. So I'm asking you for a student board member report.
Okay, so I have been staying at home, so I don't have much to report. For DECA, we did go to state, and 2 of our members actually made it to nationals before it was canceled, but we're very proud of that.
That's great. Board member comments. Leanna, do you have anything?
I think that the bus service for the lunches are going really well, and us being able to turn in our homework and pick up the packets is working extremely well. We haven't had to go anywhere. We walk to the end of our road and pick up our stuff, and everybody has a smile on their face, and it's been going really well so far. And I think it's awesome. So that's me.
Really good news. Art, do you have anything?
I have less to report than everyone else, so no.
All right, thank you. And I'll pass for now, just in the interest of time. And we'll go to Michelle for the food service presentation.
Hi. So it's been, hi. So it's been kind of crazy with all the changes and things we've been doing. It's been really exciting though, because we've had a really good participation. We started out with low participation, and then it kept growing. And then as we added the bus routes, it climbed even more. It's like as of today, we did 1,400 today. And so homework day, we do a lot more. Last homework day, we were over 1,600 breakfasts and over 1,600 lunches. And because we do combine them into the same bag, so it worked out nicely to try to conserve bags, because that's been a real shortage, is finding items and bag items and things like that that we can put in the lunches. But we've kind of been developing a new plan for that. We're going to start, I think, 1 day a week doing, we'll pre-cook an item, and then kids or parents can reheat it at home. And that'll give us a little bit more variety, because now the Uncrustable sandwiches are no longer available throughout the rest of the school year. And so we're kind of just trying to come up with some new meal. But we have been doing a very strong participation. Our breakfast numbers and our lunch numbers are comparable to what it would be during a school year, and it's actually now surpassing that. And so that's pretty exciting. And then these are just pictures of the way we set up the kitchens. We have a kitchen at Sand Hill and then the central kitchen, and those are the ones that do all the bus routes. So out of Sand Hill, some days they have over 700 meals going out. And the high school kitchen, the central kitchen, has about 650. And then Belfair Elementary, they actually service the Sherwood preschool when it's open, and they get lunches and breakfast from us from Belfair. And then we have Hawkins open as well. So the Alta kids and the people that don't have a bus route, they can walk over there and get lunch. And these are just pictures of all the staging of the boxes of food and coolers for milk for to be distributed by the school bus employees. And I have to say, it's been a really neat experience working with the bus drivers, because we don't get much interaction with them. And now we do. And it's just been a really neat experience how everyone just comes together and is working really hard. We also did get a grant for a new upright walk-in refrigerator for Sand Hill this year. So I'm working on getting that finalized.
That's incredible.
They are incredible.
And this is just Cindy getting to load the truck to take things to Sand Hill. And these are also all the items waiting to be put on the buses for meal distribution.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Is there, I think there is, I heard this before, but there's an option if a kid has a peanut allergy?
There is. What I've noticed is that parents aren't identifying themselves as having their students. So we have like a family on Lakeland that we know they have 5 peanut-free meals, and then we have a gluten-free meal. And now Sand Hill, someone let us know that they have a gluten-free child. So I'm trying to get out there, because for a while we'd put like an option on the bus that was peanut-free. We only had one true peanut butter day, but we may have like residual. But what I found is that the food kept coming back, because they're not identifying themselves, so we don't know what route some of the kids are. I know I saw a post on Facebook, so I did reach out to that mom to what route she's on, because what would be
I think we're talking about the same person, or thinking of the same person.
And so
would it be, oh, sorry. Would it be a good thing for them to call the school and then and tell them that they do and identify their route?
Yes, it would be very helpful, because then what we'll do is we'll just make sure they have a special box for their meals.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Michelle, and thank you for all your hard work and your cooperative effort with our transportation department. That is pretty awesome.
Here.
Woo!
Thanks.
So let's move on to consent items. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam
Motion
Chairman,
made.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
All right, thank you, John. And hi, I didn't know you were on. Thank you.
I wasn't for a while.
Okay, is there any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Aye.
Board development and linking. Superintendent update.
Yeah, we can do it here. Too. Before I turn it over to Ashley for the budget update, I would like to point out on the personnel report, there were a number of classified employees who had their jobs end at the end of last week. We were very deliberate in that decision with them. These were jobs that were going to be eliminated by the end of the year. These were employees that were prior to their 120-day cutoff when we can do that kind of change. And for them, it was a benefit to be terminated at this point in time and still keep their benefits because they can take advantage of the extra unemployment available to folks who lose their job as a result of COVID and the pandemic. So the district worked with PSC and with the employees towards a solution that was helpful to the district in our long-range budget, but also very helpful to the employees so that they can get the maximum benefits out of the situation. I just wanted to point that out.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I saw Denise's name on there, and that made me sad, but I know, I talked to her earlier, and I know that it's sad for us, but congratulations. Are you all on there?
Shall we go
Okay.
to the budget status update?
Yep, let's start with the budget report.
Okay, so we'll start with the other funds, capital projects at the end of March ended, well, very close to where they ended at the end of February. So at just under $2 million. Debt service is currently sitting at about 1.3 million. Now, April is a property tax collection month. Mason County did not opt to do a blanket extension for property tax collections. So,
Ashley, are we on the dashboard? Is that where you're starting now?
No, I'm sorry. We're on the other funds budget status report.
My apologies.
Not a problem. So we are expecting closer to what our full property tax collection would be at the end of this month. ASB is currently sitting at about 430,000. We're not expecting a lot of movement in ASB through the rest of the year with the school closure. We're working on finalizing some POs and closing those out since we don't really know what next year is going to look like at the beginning of the year either. So it's sort of in hiatus at this point. Transportation vehicle funds currently sitting at 176,000. The bus that was totaled at the beginning of the year is getting picked up tomorrow. And then we're expecting the replacement bus here within the next month. And then that fund will drop significantly after that point. I was going back and forth on what to include as far as the enrollment trend. But what I opted to do is sort of recreate what the state right now is stating they're going to be sort of basing our enrollment off of. If you could scroll down, Denise, to the next section. Okay, so what the state has said is that they were going to turn around and they're going to use our numbers for February plus an adjustment factor in order to calculate what our apportionment should be for the rest of the school year. Originally, there was a mistake in our calculation that would have underfunded us by 22 student FTE. It was due to OSPI leaving out a running start calculation. They ended up getting that corrected. And so now our enrollment is trending we're exactly where we would expect it to for the months of April, May, and June. So those numbers that you're seeing there, that is what the state has said they're going to be paying us based upon on those blue bars. So basically 2,344, just under 2,345 for April, just about the same for the month of May. And then the month of June, it's going to drop by just one FTE. It puts our average though for the school year at 2,324.8 FTE.
Nice.
Hey, Ashley.
Yeah.
Can I just get clarification what you mean by the running start formula? Does that mean that the budgeted bars were not correct based off that formula to begin with?
No, the orange bars that you're seeing right there, that was our budgeted enrollment. That's our enrollment that we budget at the beginning of the year. So the orange bars has nothing to do with it. Basically,
okay.
What it was when OSPI originally put out the Excel document showing what our enrollment was going to be for the rest of the year, they had inadvertently left off running start as part of the total student calculation. And because we do have a higher running start calculation, it dropped our FTE count. So because we weren't getting credit for any of those partial FTEs for running start. So it had dropped by 22. I had notified Dana. Dana got a hold of some individuals. They rectified the situation and then let us know where to find the new documents, the new numbers.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So now we should be able to do the monthly dashboard. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly just because it's sort of hard to go through it in detail over Zoom because your guys' faces are over the numbers and I have to move it back and forth. So just let me know if you have any specific questions, but for revenues, currently we're trending right about 1% under where we would expect to be, about 1.3% under where we would expect to be at this date. But our local sources are under by about 3%. That would be property taxes. We've been trending that way since October when we were short about 300,000 in property tax collections. Our state source collection is almost right on the percent. They're both at it's about 0.5% less than what we would expect. Our federal sources are starting to creep back up to where we would expect it to be. We have the staff in the federal programs now so that I can actually do the federal claim. And we've received a lot of guidance from OSPI regarding the ability to continue using our federal sources, how we would normally do for staff. So that has been positive information that we've received of late. That's really it for revenues. Can we move on to expenditures? So expenditures, one of the things that we've been doing is trying to get this green semicircle closer to 8% range. We're up to 5.76% right now. That's sort of where we're trending for end of year fund balance if nothing else were to change. And as we all know, things are changing on a continuous basis. So with the fact that school's not going to be in session in the way we would normally see it, I expect to see some of that impact this percentage here as far as positive impact. Total expenditures actual year to date, we're trending right on where we had budgeted as far as total dollars out the door. Salaries and benefits, we're trending under. And then our actual basic education year to date, we're also trending under. A lot of that is just strategic decisions to spend less in specific areas in order to help fund balance. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is one of the slides that I've been working the most on, and it's getting that bottom blue line with the little white box as close to that green triangle as possible on that very far end, because that green triangle is what our ending fund balance would need to be in order for us to be at the 8% mark. And that blue line is where we're at, where we're trending currently. So as of the end of April, we should be at about 2.8 million, and then you can see that it starts to drop. Now, it's dropping based upon historic trends when school is in session, not when our students are at home and teachers are teaching from remote locations, and we're dealing with our current situation. So it's going to be interesting to see what that does to this line through the rest of the year. Next slide. Okay, so this is a higher fund, general fund summary. Right now, we're currently operating about 257,000, just under $258,000 in the red. So our total revenue year to date is 20,050,000 just about, and our total expenses year to date is about 20,308,000. So that puts us in the deficit by 257,000. We've been working on bridging that gap here over the last few months in order to get us back in the black. I do feel like in the next, well, technically, I guess by now, we will have seen that red be in the black. We've implemented a lot of changes district-wide to help this situation. So the next one we have a lot more detail on. Denise, it's going to require you to expand it though on your screen in order for it to be seen on the very last slide.
Oh, there it is.
Yep, there we go. Okay, so right now, the local property tax, we're still under collected by about 251,000. We did receive a little over 60,000 more than I had anticipated in March early payments, which is a positive indicator of where we should be for April. So early property tax payments come in from individuals who are self-pay. So the fact that we had a good, decent sized group of community members who had paid in the month of March versus April should hopefully help us come end of April when the rest of the property taxes are due. Now, even though Mason County did not do a blanket extension, they did put out an extension process for individuals that were impacted by the COVID shutdowns to allow them to pay their property taxes up through, I believe, the end of June, if they just filled out a form. So we will see some impact from that, but not as much as what we would have seen from a blanket extension across the entire county. Apportionment, general apportionment, we're still down just under 112,000. A lot of that's just due to calculations of where our revenue was supposed to be and the fact that it didn't end up coming in. If we go down to our expenditures, this is where you start seeing our state and federal programs that are underfunded. Right now, in SPED, we're trending at just under $400,000 over what we're receiving. And you can go down through each one of those federal and state programs and see the additional costs it's taking to run the program versus the funding that we're actually getting to operate it. Now, when you get down to pupil transportation, you're going to see that it looks like there's a surplus of funds of $431,664. That's not actually the case, but based upon how the trends go, when we received our revenue budget for transportation, it was technically supposed to be higher than what the revaluation was of transportation come February. So the system obviously does all of their trends based upon budget. So when the actuals come in and they vary from the budget, that's going to be part of the reason we're seeing variance in that column. So, and a lot of this is also going to be dependent upon what the state decides to do with the fact that we're utilizing buses to transport food, because technically they fund to from transportation. They do not fund food service transportation. So, but there's a lot of talks at the state level on how that's going to work going into next year. Do you guys have any questions regarding any of the information presented?
No.
Board members have any questions?
Okay.
Well, I trust we're okay on closing that gap. I mean, we got a plan for closing the gap.
Yes, we have worked extensively on a plan to close that gap. like Dana was saying earlier, regarding the individuals who unfortunately have already been laid off. When we were looking at the numbers, we're looking at our bargaining agreements. We're seeing what we can do that would still be advantageous for employees, yet still get the district to where we're needing to get as well. As a whole, we're working as a group really to get creative and find ways to bridge that gap. With everything being shut down, there's not a lot of really anything other than food service and bus transportation as far as dollars out the door, additional dollars out the door. A lot of the other areas will hopefully see some cost savings. Of course, things like custodial supplies and hours for custodial services have increased, but we're working on finding savings in other areas to close that gap.
All right. Thank you.
Ashley, under the expenditures portion of it, which line item is there any line items that's strictly local choice?
Do you mean, is there any line items that the district them like we would decide?
Yeah,
where they went, or-
that's not mandated by the federal or state.
Oh, no, every single, well, technically you could talk about district-wide support, program 97. So
Okay.
that's literally it. Yeah. So
Okay.
district-wide support would be all your utilities. That would be
Okay.
all of that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
that's the only thing that's not technically mandated or have some other type of state or federal requirement.
So that would be the most flexible line item with regards to,
Yeah.
you know, there's no adverse effects from up on high of that line item. Basically.
Correct.
That's
Exactly.
ours. Okay. Thank you.
Exactly. Uh-huh.
Any other questions? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
You can't hear me.
I can hear you. And that's,
Okay, thank you. All right, there's the budget planning. Thanks, Ashley. Not easy in these times to do this, but thank you. Shall we move on to Dana, do you have anything else?
I do. I have some teaching and learning things to talk about. So first,
Okay.
I'm really excited. I don't have complete details yet, but get excited about these things and want to share them with you. We're notified by the State Board of Education this morning, and we'll get a letter following up with more details in the next few days, that Hawkins Middle School is receiving state recognition for closing the gap for multiple subgroups of students in the 2018-19 school year. So we're very proud of them for that.
all right.
Yeah.
During one of the things I want to just briefly talk about is what we're doing for kids right now has been and will continue to be a moving target since schools were closed on March 16th. We are engaged now in what the state is now defining as continuous learning rather than distance learning or online learning, because those both have different definitions in WACs and RCWs. So the idea behind continuous learning is that kids will continue to have new learning. There will be expectations for students in districts across the state. Grading in some form will continue, and students will continue to have the opportunity at the secondary level to earn credits and to get to graduation. So those are all things that our building staffs, administration, and teachers have been working really hard on. And just like us running this Zoom meeting, it's new learning for all of us. And I would say that our staff is getting better every single day at the ways that they're working with students, and they're growing their skills, and students are growing their skills. And what's happening in so many cases is really pretty phenomenal and will continue to get better. Our seniors will get to graduate. We are not sure exactly what that's going to look like, but the high school administration and the senior class leaders met earlier this week to start to do some planning. We do have a lot of restrictions still in place about large groups of people, and so there are we're going to have to figure out how to plan it and still maintain social distance and still keep people not in those large groups. So they just started the conversation, but we will have a way to recognize our students who graduate this year, and our students will graduate. In our May meeting, I'm going to bring to you some new policies based on new WASDA model policies that give us the opportunity to give student award credits based on what kids really actually already know. And so that will be something we'll be talking about next month. But the school year is going through the end of the year. June 19th, 2020 would have been our final day anyway, because we did have the one snow day. We'll continue to have a hybrid delivery model of education. We are starting to hand out more devices to students who need them to do their work together with their teachers. We are asking staff and to work with their families to identify who actually needs a device, who can benefit from having a device, who has connectivity and who does not have connectivity, so we can continue to work with community partners like the PUD to expand the ability of families, kids to connect online, to do online versions of learning. One of the things that we need to talk about, or that we need to recognize as we look ahead to plan, is, you know, when we didn't pass the February levy, we had to look at our budget planning for next year. And so while we are working hard and we are proud of the work our team is doing and of the interaction with the community and good things are happening in the district, we are going out for a second levy here on April 28th. If that levy doesn't pass, we will make significant reductions across the board, across the district, from administration to teachers to classified employees and to staff. And so when we looked at the teacher reductions, normally when we're in this kind of situation, if we didn't have a lot of provisional employees, and that is teachers in their first 3 years of employment, then we would have to do a more formal process, a reduction in force process, in which the board makes a resolution to cut teaching positions, certificated positions. However, we have approximately 50 provisional employees, and there are different sets of rules for how we end the employment of provisional employees. So the reductions that we need to make will come from our provisional employee ranks. It's not 50, it's many, many fewer than that. Between attrition and actual reductions, we are looking at 18.2 fewer certificated positions next year, but part of that will be covered by the many retirements and resignations that we've received. So those provisional employees who might be losing their positions if the levy is not successful, we'll have an individual meeting with Carolyn and I to talk about where they are and what that will mean for them over the next couple of weeks. So I just wanted to be really clear about that's where we are on reductions. Further reductions in administrations, we've had a resignation of an administrative role that we will not be replacing. Administrators are taking other cuts, foregoing pending raises that were bargained for next year, et cetera, so that we can make appropriate budget adjustments. And then we are continuing to work with our classified bargaining units about what those reductions in their units will look like, but the timelines are a little bit further on in the year. So we are not quite as far along in talking to those units as we are in our discussions with our NMEA. So I think I covered everything on my list.
Hannah, can I
Okay,
make
thank you.
one
Any
comment
questions?
regarding capital projects?
Oh, yes, that was teaching and learning. Yes, I would like to ask you to talk a little bit about capital projects that are going to be starting back up here next week.
Yeah, so I wanted to make note, especially because after we have a conversation regarding cuts, the community will be seeing some active construction occurring. This comes out of a completely different fund than our general fund, which is our operating fund. Projects that are going to be occurring are the new roof to Sand Hill Elementary. It's slated to begin work on Monday. So they'll have a new roof that is being paid for with that state forest dollar transfer that we had done earlier on in the year. Also, our early kindergarten portable is being delivered at the end of the month, which means all the prep work begins next week. So they're breaking ground on the site. So we'll have the electricians, plumbers out doing that. Now, the work is considered mission essential, seeing as how the program needs to be up and going by the beginning of next year. So we were able to sign a agreement with these vendors stating that the school districts are considered mission essential school district employees. And so the work that we are doing is considered mission essential. Therefore, they're able to work on our projects and on our sites. So that work will begin on Monday on both the roof and on the portable. So we're really excited to see those be completed here within the next month or so.
Cool. Thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
I did
Dan,
just,
I have anything else?
yeah, I was just going to add an illustration. And our teachers are doing great things through Zoom meetings or using Microsoft Teams with their students. They've got all sorts of creative project-based learning that they're doing. But you know, one of the questions all of us kind of had, not just some parents, is as we were looking at the trimester starting up with learning happening at home, is how are you going to do that for a class like woodshop? And I have to say, Gavin has done amazing work. He's kept the kids very involved with all of the academic part, preparation, learning of how all the safety and the math and the things that you need to do before you start doing projects. But we just posted pictures. He has put together the first project in boxes to go home to students so that they can build a project at home beginning tomorrow. So it's just a really neat example of the work that our teachers are continuing to do to support our students.
I did see that on Facebook. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, shall we move on? Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, upcoming board letter columnists, Leanna, you have this month.
I do.
And I have May, and okay, Art has June, and Craig has July, and then we're back to John in August. So let's move on to the assurance of organizational performance and policy review. The policy that is up for review this month is ER11, the district calendar. And I would entertain a motion to approve the superintendent's compliance with this, with the district calendar.
Madam Chairman, I move that we find the superintendent in compliance with ER 11.
Thank you, John. Is there any discussion? No? Who knows what the calendar will look like for 21-22?
Yeah.
We'll go with this. All in favor of approving?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. And policy review, we reviewed this policy last month and approved performance for ER 9, communication with the public, and ER 12, student conduct and discipline. Is there anything you'd like to add to the review of those two policies?
I just want to say that the district is doing so good that people were complaining about getting too much information. So I think we're doing good, and the teachers and everybody have streamlined really fast on that lately. So that really the glitch of everybody reporting everything at once. It was just really super quick. So still impressed.
Okay.
I had one question. If this is out of order, just tell me. On a little post I did on the community site, one of the responses I've been getting, oh, well, they're doing nothing about bullies. And we have a metric on that somewhere. And my impression from my memory of previous meeting was that we record it and the numbers are going down. Is that correct?
We do have metrics on behaviors and, yeah, so we're working on, we continue to work on that. In most cases, they are improving, but when it happens to you for your child, it feels really huge. And so
Yeah,
our
right.
goal is it's not happening at all, and we're not there yet.
Right. Well, that's helpful.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, let's go to good of the order. The board or the superintendent? No? I'm not hearing anything.
No.
I'm not.
Who is supposed to be doing it?
The board self-assessment is directed Patty. So if you could fill that out and turn it in to the front
Okay.
office.
Yeah. I'll drop it off tomorrow.
Thank you.
I'd be interested in knowing whether or not we passed.
Well, I think considering the circumstances, I'm willing to give us a satisfactory on both behavior and principal review.
Thank you. Maybe next month we can get this even smoother. Who knows if we'll still have to do it? I don't know. Our next board meeting date is May 21st at 6:30 here. As far as signing the documents that we typically sign, Art and I are here, so we will each send the documents separately. And if each of you could schedule a time to come in with me and sign those documents, that would be great.
Okay.
All right.
The
Make a
meeting-
note of it.
The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.